You'll know when you have a wild woman. She'll practice her craft without boundaries. She is truly autonomous. Her loyalty is only to the family she serves, a midwife who will not allow herself to be held back by a system she didn't create.
This podcast is for the birth keepers who want to grow and change. We are open to learning through self-reflection and supportive community. We are creating this space to explore without judgment. We are remembering we were
Born wild.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Born Wild podcast. This is your host, Leah.
Emma. And Sophia.
And this week we're doing our topic discussion.
Woo-hoo.
Which is always super fun. We get going and then we have to stop ourselves to try to have some type of structure, because the easiest is when we can just sit and talk about birth. But we'll do our check-in for the week.
Yeah.
Emma, how was your week?
Good. Oh my gosh, good. Just busy, like really busy, but good. I have been just trying to get school stuff done, and I've been trying to work out more and enjoying the sunshine and getting ready for my birthday tomorrow.
Oh my goodness.
How are you, Leah?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm missing my children like crazy. This morning was it was the first like really hard morning, but I called them in Germany and talked to them, and they're doing well. Sienna just wants to see your child, Emma. She's obsessed with your daughter. But yeah, just
It's mutual.
yes, I can't wait to see what they come up with. Yeah, just settling in, works good. I have a few new mamas, new clients that I'm excited to get care going with. I'm waiting on a first baby right now, which is always very sweet. With permission, baby Elvis is the baby's name.
I love it.
Love it. They're a family that contacted me early in their pregnancy and were sort of interested in more alternative quote birth options and possibly home birth, and it felt overwhelming for them to kind of do anything outside of the laid course in the beginning, but they switched over towards the end, and so I'm really excited for them, and just kind of waiting for that to unfold. Sophia.
Nice.
Hi, I just had to tell my kid to go away. Recording.
They weren't barking?
Not this time. We got back from our trip. It was really fun, and I've just been kind of settling in and getting back into being on call, getting all my birth kits ready for the babies that are going to be born. And seeing all my families again that I work for. So it's been good, just kind of like a settling in week. I'm excited to see you ladies and chat today. We were off, not recording. We were on a really good flow. We were just kind of chatting, and then we were like, wait a minute, we need to be recording this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. So
in the pocket, so to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the topic we were talking about was just the idea of how to experience hard things in birth and not carry that with you to other births, and the idea of like, can you continuously go back to trusting birth? In a nutshell, that's kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, and what I was thinking about, and we've had this conversation, Sophia, where I've called you a birth purist, or I've coined that term, thought I've coined it. Well, so the idea of like, what does it even mean to trust birth? Like, of course we trust birth. We don't really have an option. If we're gonna choose to continue to go to births, when we attend one where something comes up and like our training, our presence is needed, it doesn't really affect how much I like trust birth. Like, I don't feel like birth inherently is a perfect process. I don't believe in perfection, but I don't feel like if there's some type of birth that unfolds absolutely perfectly, and the only reason that it doesn't is because of some type of interference, right? So like when we're needed, or when something comes up that's like more hands-on, it's not so much about like, it's okay, remember that birth still works. It's just like, that's just part of birth. That's why
I think a
we're
lot
here.
of providers don't trust birth though. So I don't think it's accurate
Sure.
to say that like we wouldn't do this work, because I see a lot of people jump to XYZ because of last experiences,
Sure.
which I think is human
Right. Well, so
nature.
yes. But you can take an experience of a birth that you were at, like we were talking about a birth that we attended together where there was a placental abruption. And having had that experience, it didn't like take away my faith in placentas or make me feel like birth is inherently less safe or less trustworthy. But I do carry that with me, in that it adds to my like backlog of, okay, well, I saw this. And in the future, like, how do you go into a birth in the future and remember that birth and remember what you saw and how you felt, and use that as a tool to serve the family that you're with? Because you're there to serve them. They want you there, at least partially, in case something like that happens, and you're there as a professional, quote unquote, because you've seen it before. So like bringing that experience in so that you can recognize something when it happens, but not bringing it in as fear. You know what I mean? Like, not saying, okay, I'm bringing in the baggage of this last birth. I'm bringing in the experience of having seen that happen. And now I know that this other thing could be a sign of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
So in that way, it's like, how can you have it, not that you don't, not change your view of birth as like your basic philosophy, but like, okay, this also is part of birth.
But
like birth also has complications.
Here could be the difference, Leah. Do you consider yourself traumatized from that birth?
No, but trauma is a really subjective word.
But that's,
I mean, sure, on some level.
Somebody has a traumatic experience, traumatic outcome, like I think that has more potential versus just like being needed and needing to use our skills, versus like having a traumatic experience or outcome or something, like, especially if it happens multiple times.
So like I've been at a birth since then where I've seen some bleeding, and I wouldn't call it a trauma response, but it definitely like flagged something for me. I'm like, okay, remember last time when, and obviously everything was fine, and I wouldn't change that we did the birth or how we did it or where it happened or anything like that. But I do have a response in my body that can feel like fear, but I don't feel like it's a negative thing in that moment, or at least hopefully not. I try not to, but just more like I'm having this response because I'm remembering this experience, and this could be something that helps me be more alert to a potential thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's about,
the line, of course, is like, do you act on it and like not over respond, but
overreact, to something that maybe isn't happening this time, but it's triggering something in you. Yeah. Like the, acting just in case.
Right. Yeah, maybe that's the trust thing, is that I don't know if it changes the just in case, but it definitely changes the awareness of the situation, like looking for more things, or like, I kind of think of it like that experience, the little spirit of that birth or of that baby is like in the room with me now. Does that make sense? It sounds weird, but it's like, okay, I remember that little person being like, hey, remember when I came out and this happened?
Yeah.
Like, oh,
yeah.
okay. you know?
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
the difference is like having an experience and sitting with him being like, can I take this and let it grow me into the midwife I want to be, or is it going to like hinder me and hold me back from being the midwife I want to be? And sometimes I think that can be really hard to do, especially if you're a student and newer licensed or anything like that. I think it takes like having these experiences and being able to say to families, yes, I have had to breathe for a baby. Yes, I have had to, and not that we want to see that all the time, but it is the reason it's good to have had those experiences is because now you're less scared of it. I remember the idea of breathing for a baby was terrifying, and now the thought of it doesn't bother me at all.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. I think as a student, like seeing the really tough stuff, and I think I'm grateful so that I've seen that. So then if that happens in my care, it's not going to be the first time,
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and that ideally you're
but
always
it just,
like, not only is the family surrounded by people she trusts, but that you surround yourself with people you trust.
mhm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. That really cemented that in my mind of what, the kind of midwife that I want to be and the people I want to surround myself with, because yep.
When there's something going on at birth, the first two things I can remember happening is whether it's the mom of the baby, I'm like looking at them and like, okay, assessing quickly. And then I always am looking up to my team and assessing them, because like sometimes if I'm like, oh, they don't seem worried. Okay, I'm going to take this down a notch in my body and reassess. Or I look up and their eyes look at me and I'm like, okay, we're on the same page. Good to know. Good to know. It's like, it's nice to have that check-in versus being like, okay, it's all me,
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. It takes a village before the baby comes out.
There's definitely those births as a student that you do in whatever setting or wherever you end up doing your apprenticeship, that I think it's good to have a little fear kicked into you.
Yeah.
And as a licensed midwife and as a student, but just those experiences where and obviously if you're like deeply traumatized or you're whatever, you're not going to move forward with what you're doing. But just like, I was thinking about Sophia births we've done together where I feel like it has really bonded us actually as midwives and practicing together.
Yeah, it makes you trust the other person more too. Like theoretically, I have your back, but now you actually know I have your back.
Yeah.
And the skill is
just for sure.
Maybe you bring awareness to like, wow, I don't have a lot of support after an experience for trauma release, and like how to support my body, how to support my soul through this, or I do have all the resources, because it's better to get them now, than 10 years in and realize you haven't processed anything. Like I think, Emma, we were talking about adrenal support and like, why wait till you're tanked in 15 years? Like, why not start now? Because even the births that go smooth, there's these hormone rushes of adrenaline and everything, just because it's super exciting. And even after really easy births where I'm hardly there at all, middle of the day, I am wiped 2 days after, even if it wasn't intense, I just like, my body is coming off of that. So our adrenals are going to be affected every single time.
Burnout is very, very real.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. I feel really grateful that I'm going on a little vacation. I was just thinking about like a friend, another student midwife who's my friend is at a high volume birth center. It's like, just having that like rush of hormones and adrenaline and and schoolwork and like just taking on so much more. Like she has way less breaks than I do. It's just, yeah, it's a lot. It's intense.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's why my max feels often, and like if I do 4 or 5 births in a month, I'm like, woo, flat.
Yeah.
I'm flat. I mean, that's, and I'm including assisting. I don't mean primary births. Like, 2, 3 primary births a month is like great for me. So I doing a long-term, really high volume practice sounds so exhausting to me. But yeah, I think you just have to put in place how to care for yourself. As a student, it's especially hard because you're not making money and you have all this other stuff going on and you're trying to like juggle schoolwork too. And so take care of yourself.
Well, that's why I remember being so grateful for you, Leah, when I first got licensed, because I for sure wanted another midwife that I could trust at births, but somebody who was my peer and not my teacher, because I didn't want there to always be this dynamic of me being a student. But I wanted somebody who was, more experienced than me and had been through all the hard, scary things, so that if I was in a new position, that I wasn't the only one, so that I was really grateful for you, Leah, because I did feel like that we were on par with each other, that we were peers. There was no like hierarchy, but you had my back, until I had enough of the experiences to feel confident that, I've got this. So even as a licensed midwife, it was nice to still like wean myself into my own practice.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you felt that way. I mean, it was purely the birth center where I worked. That was just the culture there. The midwives, the woman who owned the birth center at the time, she sold it since. Shout out Suzanne Smith. It was just the way it was set up is that like the midwives who had been there for a long time, and then like the new staff midwives, and then the resident midwife. It was like it was a system of like really great support, and nobody was higher than anybody else. And it was like you really were your own midwife, and people were just there for you. So that was how I was raised, which is why we want to do that with our students.
Yeah. And I hope that you do feel that way, Emma, is that like we are a team, and we all of us are midwives, and we all just have different experiences at the time and strengths. But I know we've encouraged you, like if somebody wants to hire you, like you be their midwife and we'll be there to support you through it. But I don't, we'll like put our name on everything, but you can be the one, you can get the money from it. Like it doesn't have to be this hierarchy thing where, well, you're still a student, you don't get to do that yet.
Yeah, I'm really grateful. I've learned so much in like I think I'm just fatigued because like I'm taking in so much at a like really quick pace. And like the last apprenticeship that I was in for a year, it was like literally butter births like every time. And so I didn't learn very much. And I just had this idea of like, okay, well, this is what we do. And it's just, I've seen different things recently where I'm like, okay, I'm really grateful that I'm learning this. I'm really grateful that I have this opportunity. But it's also just very fatiguing on myself.
It's important to have those butter bursts too, though, like you never get to know what normal is unless you have normal. If it's hard, then that's not helpful either. So it's nice to have a variety so that you can grow from and learn how to do nothing and learn how to just step in and step in a respectful manner. I think that piece is really important to me, that that I'm not all of a sudden walking on the mother because I'm needed, that there's like a calm environment, communication. The birth we were just talking about, Leah, with the placental abruption. The other people attending the birth, they had never been to a birth before. It was like a sister, a doula, a photographer. It was all their first births. And later, when we were talking about the emergency, they had said to us, oh, that was an emergency? Like, we didn't even realize because it was so calm. And I think that is important to both Leah and I, that the energy stays really calm.
Which is crazy because, you know, it was one of the more interventive experiences that I've had.
Yes.
Fear isn't, I mean, you know, like afterwards it hits you and you're like, okay, whew, like we worked today.
Mm-hmm.
We had to be midwives today.
Yeah.
You know, but
I think
yeah,
that, like, because I've seen this from other midwives and like videos of birth, you know, that I've watched and stuff, but where all of a sudden they're not even just like home birth, like hospital too, of course, but like where they're almost like yelling at the mom, you know, do something or do this, you got.
Yeah.
I just feel like that adds to the trauma for everybody, you know, that it makes this feeling of like that she's in the way of the safety of this baby. So I remember just feeling horrible every time I was at a birth or saw a birth that was like that, and promised myself I would never treat a mother that way, no matter the situation.
Yeah,
because I think it's less about what happens and more about how you're treated than anything.
Yeah. I remember at the end of that when we were sort of like sitting together and decompressing a little bit, and you said something like, I hope we can still be friends after this, or something like that, and you were like half kidding, or we can practice, and I was like, are you kidding, man? You're never getting rid of me now. Like, that was you know, and obviously it was not an experience I wish to repeat, but it's good. You got to have your sisters, and you have to be able to trust the people that you're with and all of that.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Obviously. Well, you brought up tearing earlier, since we're on light subjects.
Go from trauma release to tearing. That was our original topic
right.
we wanted to talk about.
I know.
And then we just started rolling with this. Yeah, I guess it could relate even, you know, the idea is that we have to do anything specific to prevent tearing. Like when I say we, as like midwives, that it's up to us to prevent tearing, or the idea of letting things be more hands off, and hands off meaning let, you know, the mom support herself. And what are your experiences and opinions on that?
When we were doing the suturing, Sophie, you and I were doing like an office day skills thing where we were relearning and new learning some suturing technique stuff, and she was talking about warm compresses on the perineum during pushing, and that's something that midwives just do because it helps the tissues expand and prevents tearing and all of that. But then this idea that like we're doing that, but the natural lubricants from the birth, from the fluid and discharge and all of that, that when we're doing that, we're drying that up, A, and B, you know, taking away the woman's sensations for herself of what she's feeling, because now she's feeling our pressure against her bottom, and like whether or not that's actually preventing tearing, could be causing tearing, if it's, you know, like this idea that we got where, okay, we do warm compresses and that is reassuring and it's going to help. And I've done it, and I felt like moms appreciated it, you know, birthing people benefited from it, from what they have told me, or from what I've gathered from what happened. But yeah, like, is it something that we just started doing because we think it helps, but ultimately could be causing more friction, causing her to push more than she actually physiologically feels like she wants to, because she feels that counter pressure, like, you know. Emma, have you had experiences with that with preceptors or with births where people have had opinions about counter pressure or using?
Yeah, I just gave a mama counter pressure a couple of days ago. I find that from my experience, they really like it. I think it's comforting to have the warmth, and it gives them something to like push into. Of course, we ask permission. We talk about it prenatally. Like, it's not something we're springing on them or doing without consent. I feel like every time it's been offered, it's been appreciated, and it kind of allows the birthing person to feel not only physically supported, but like, I guess just supported and comforted, and that you're there and you're doing this thing and you're a part of it. And I totally think that there's a lot of people that want to have a hands-off birth too, and that should just be discussed, and we should meet our clients where they're at and what they would like. I did not have a midwife that offered counter pressure, and I'm looking back at like my level of really bad tearing that was not sutured. I really wish that would have been offered to me. I would have really liked that.
Yeah, I found a lot of people really like counter pressure, like rectally almost, like they feel like turn inside out, and just have just like confirmation we're holding it all in kind of thing. I've even seen a mom like have a washcloth and do it herself.
Also, I think it offers them privacy. Nobody wants their asshole out, inside out. Like, I think it gives them a little bit of privacy, and it allows them to kind of go deeper into their space, because they're not like, oh God, like coming out of their birthing space because they're worried about that or thinking about that.
Yeah, it's
when
of course it's hard to know, because we can't go back and like do that again without doing what we did to see if it would have been any different. I'm curious about statistics and stuff, because even Manistats, they ask about tearing and repair, but they don't ask about support, or anything, to like get statistics about that on. I just know from being in like the free birth communities and hearing birth stories and about women's tearing and healing and all that unless they're not being honest or they're just not sharing, like there's really not that there isn't tearing, but it just isn't really an issue necessarily. There's very few women who report having tears that didn't heal properly, or having issues with that. So I just always question like how necessary preventing it in the first place is, how necessary suturing it is, and if it really is just a reflection of our shitty postpartum support where people are up and at it when they really should just be like resting and cared for so that they can properly heal.
I think, I'm part of that really small percent, and I was the first time mom. I didn't have little kids to run around after, and I kept my knees closed, and I was in bed, and I did all the things, and my midwife was like, it will go back. I think that really will go back, and it didn't go back, and it's really fucking painful, and it's affected my sex life. Like, it's not a good time. So
did she say, if you want to share, did she say like what your degree of tearing was?
It's a 2nd degree tear, but it's right like near the clitoral hood, and it's a really big labial tear, and so it's still just like open, and the scar tissue is just there, and it's very painful. So and it could have been sutured, and it could have been prevented. I know, Leah, you were starting to say something, so I want to go back to what you're saying, but I've seen a birthing person crowning and like the tissue getting really white, and I offered like a little bit of counter pressure like in front of her, like reached in front of her and just gave her support like in the labial area, and she said, thank you so much for doing that. I didn't realize that felt really good. And I was just so afraid. I'm like, I don't want her to rip open like I did. That comes up for me now because of my experience. I'm like, oh my God, And I've also seen I've seen somebody have the exact same tear as me, and the preceptor that I had say, I really think that's going to go back. And I stepped out and I said, let's just talk about this. Are you sure? I think maybe that could be sutured, just because I don't want somebody to have like scar tissue just open. Like it just, it's not fun.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so it gets
I was gonna
Go ahead, Leah.
I was just gonna say, I've had a couple people who had tears where it was clitoral or urethral or like in the upper labia area, and while they're pushing, like talking about it prenatally, and while they're pushing, doing a lot more hands-on contact with them, and it really feeling like I had a mom like maybe 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, and it was, it was definitely like I was like full on holding, because it was a lot of fear about it. Like, I'm gonna tear through, and I was like, I have you, I've got it, like, don't worry. And I think it was really helpful. When I learned counter pressure, a part of what I learned was guarding. I mean, it was like to, tear prevention as far as like perineum and all of that. But, a good part of it was protection of the clitoris and the urethra. And I learned more aggressive head flexion, which I don't do anymore. But that was something that was taught, I think, more at that time, where it's just like an older skill that when midwives were trained was to put that counter pressure down, because it can help prevent tearing, but you're also like applying pressure to a baby's head and neck, which is not appropriate, But both of those things at the same time, when I was trained, I did a lot of, that was what I was showed how to do. So that was some unlearning, but yeah, I guess it just always goes back to that like choice and options. And like, I haven't done a lot of counter pressure lately. And I can see where, I feel like honestly sitting with it, I can see where I've done both, where I've been really helpful, and where maybe if I had been more hands off and not done so much, like maybe she wouldn't have torn, I don't know. Reflection.
Yeah. And you can't really ever know, because you can't like
Of course.
redo something, and
Yeah.
I get, at the end of it, it's just about what she feels like is helpful and makes her feel safe, because that is such a huge factor too, that I talk to my families about in terms of tear prevention, is the idea of like making love with your partner and oxytocin and feeling good, and all the blood rushes to your lips and your breasts and the penis and vagina, and everything's like full of blood and expanded, and just the way the penis is expanded, the vagina expands, and how it can be pleasurable and all this. And then you can take the same two people and have rape and fear and damage literally to the vagina, and that the only difference was hormones, and you can't tell yourself, I'm not scared, I'm not scared, I'm not scared. You actually have to not be scared, So the first step is surrounding yourself with people who make you feel safe, and are doing things to support you in a way that makes you feel safe, and so maybe for some that's hands off, and maybe for others that would feel like abandonment, so it's getting to know them, and just like promising ourselves as midwives, like, first do no harm kind of thing, to the best of our ability.
Yeah. First give option. That's our obviously do no harm.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this was a good topics.
Yeah.
Do you ladies have any like closing thoughts, or
I think we should ask our listeners, did you get counter pressure? Did you like it? Did you not? Did you like it? What are your thoughts as people who have given birth?
Yeah. My questions would be, did somebody else's hands down there make you feel like you were less likely to support yourself, and that you think that would have been more helpful if you could have? Because I know that's my fears. If my hand's there, then she will not have her hand there, and that maybe she actually knows better than I do to support her own tissue, because she can feel where she needs to give counter pressure. Whereas I'm guessing based on observation and knowledge. So that would be my question, because that is always my hesitation is, am I going to stop her from doing a better job than me?
Right. Or if by doing that, are you, is she able to do something else that she would rather be doing, like kiss her wife or partner or
holding on
child or whatever it is. Or bite her partner. She can't bite me, but she can bite somebody else. But yeah, totally.
I mean, and there's some I've seen recently, just like some women don't even want to touch their baby's head. Like, it's too much. Like, I'm so like enwrapped in this experience that it's just like offering, come, feel your baby's head, see how far they're, or see how close you are. Can't even talk. And they're like, no, I don't want to do that. No.
Yeah.
So
I've definitely been, your baby's head is right there, like you can feel your baby, and they're like, yeah, I fucking know I can feel my baby, like I know their fucking head is right there. I'm like, you're right, you are right.
I'm feeling my baby on so many levels.
Yes, so much feeling. I know her head is right there, thank you.
Yeah, those moments where we eat our words, we're like, I'll be in the corner.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, let us know in our DMs. If you give us permission, we can maybe talk about it again.
Break it down.
Well, so great to see you, ladies. And have fun on your little vacation.
Thank you, babe. I'm excited.
And we'll have to get together when Emma's back to see your new place, Leah.
Yeah,
I would love that. Each year you're in your 30s gets better and better. I'm sure 40s will be great too, but getting older every year you get older as a woman, it just gets better. It really does. It's the great lie, but it gets any worse.
No, I feel that. I feel that. All right, babes. I love you. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks everybody for listening. You can find us at Born Wild Podcast on Instagram. For inquiries or feedback, you can email us at bornwildpodcast@gmail.com. You can find me, Emma Ray, on Instagram at Emma Ray, REA.
Sophia at sophiabirth.com.
And me, Leah, at Bay Area Home Birth.
We would really appreciate it if you would rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It helps us reach more people. And as always,
Stay wild.